We're just blasting towards the cliff edge.
We're going to see identity theft in a way that's never been seen before.
You may be teaching it how to make you redundant.
Yeah. Using the problem to fix the problem.
Yep.
They've got every right to be angry.
Particularly younger people are like, no, we're not having it.
We can't change fast enough to prepare for what's coming.
You can use AI to prove that it's not AI.
What happens when there's nothing left to transform?
Meghan, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
You work for a major trading platform. Your job is AI doing a lot of AI integration. Yeah, I'm good at this. Okay.
My background is operations and servicing. It's predominantly around digital transformation, so figuring out how we can utilize AI to enhance and optimize the client's journeys, because the whole industry was extremely antiquated. And every time there's technical debt, that begets operational debt. So there are actually still a number of people sitting in service centres all over the world, pulling a lot of very manual strings to make things work really efficiently on the front end for the client.
So it's quite reassuring that, like everyone else, they're like the swans, serene on the surface, then pedaling underneath, trying to make stuff happen.
Yeah, the firms have realised all the efficiencies that live in the back office, and now there's a scramble using AI predominantly to catch up, because everyone wants to scale, and you're not going to do that without implementing tech.
And the whole market is really buoyant, right? Or at least it has been. Trading, yes, particularly retail trading, has exploded. Crypto gambling has gone wild.
It has gone wild. The big push is on unification.
If we can talk about Robinhood, they had that GameStop thing, wasn't it? And they blocked loads of accounts and they got a terrible reputation. Did that affect everybody? Did
Yes.
they kind of recover?
It did.
Okay.
So it affected where I worked at the time. GameStop is, it was a defining point in my career. I remember onboarding 50,000 new clients in the space of 48 hours. I've never seen anything like it. Lots of people just jumping on the bandwagon, with people trying to, stick a finger up to the hedge funds.
It looked like they were closing out leveraged positions and just locking people out. That must have been wild to see it from the inside.
It was wild. Whenever someone asked what's been the most chaotic part of your career, it was that. The hedge funds were up in arms about it, and obviously there's close affiliation with the banks.
We're sort of straight into something broader. AI is being championed as the thing that is going to help solve these incumbent companies. So there is that part of me which is tech optimist.
Just on your last point, I definitely think it happened before AI. The reason why we see more and more retail clients investing now is just because there's greater access to information, and because you can do your investing on your phone. In the past, it was sort of rich white guys who would only invest because you needed a degree of education, or you'd have to go to a physical broker. So there's the accessibility bit, there's the education piece. I would really love to see someone leverage AI to help more on the educational side of investing, something that is made accessible to 16, 17-year-olds before they actually hit the age where they can start investing, they can start learning about it beforehand. I think people are welcoming of AI because we leverage it every day at work now. You can churn out a paper very quickly, just brain dumping some of the key pieces and then iterating it from there on, from a regulatory standpoint as well, because we are in such a heavily regulated industry. But then yes, there is the other element where the AI is going to take our jobs. I work in transformation. There's part of me that thinks, what happens when there's nothing left to transform? What happens when we've transformed all this legacy tech?
You may be teaching it how to make you redundant.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's always been those fears. The transformational periods are the ones that are really tough. It feels like this treadmill of keeping up, and that pressure must be fairly intense.
It's been a grind, but I think it's because of the reticence to change. So I've worked in a true fintech startup previously. There was no such thing as change fatigue there, because it was just every day pivoting. Yeah. It's been definitely more emergent where I work.
Did you enjoy the startup environment more than corporate?
Yes.
I mean, why did you switch?
For the money. It was a step up career-wise as well.
Do you miss the sort of sparky, constant pivot? Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
But having said that, transformation is very like that. And I'm very lucky to work with a really talented bunch of people. I think there's just a whole different mentality at startup. It can be a bit drink the Kool-Aid at times. But, you know, you've got stock options, you're invested quite literally. And I feel like everyone is of the same mentality. Whereas coming into a corporate, the change management that you have to do to roll out something to production is much more, it's just heavier.
The startup world is basically like a pirate ship.
Yeah. It's a really steep learning curve. But I think part of the reason the transition has been okay for me is because of that adaptability that you take away from a startup.
Were you educated in that field? What was your history?
So my history is I'm a college dropout at 17.
What were you studying?
I think fine art, graphic design and English literature. So nothing...
That's the good stuff though, man. That's the good stuff.
I always thought I'd end up in the creative arts. I think at one point I wanted to be an interior designer, hence why... you know, my home is a little bit curious in places.
Oh, I thought that was one of those screensavers behind. It's real. You're not AI.
No, it's not an AI background. So, yeah, I was a college dropout at 17. I had my son at 19, and I was a stay-at-home mum for 5 years. I went from part-time to full-time as the children got a bit older. This was financial services, a huge migration from legacy tech stack to new, so I got to do like back testing, UAT testing, creating requirements. I was there for 6 years. I took a 6-month contract at a very big American corporate, got an extension. I was only there a couple more months into the extension because I got the offer at the startup. I was a bit like, I don't know anything about this, but I really want to get into startup. I was like, startup's where it's at. And I was there for 4 years, and then I was headhunted into the job I'm currently at.
What made you always want to join a startup? What was the attraction to that? The rock and roll lifestyle, right?
That's what it was. And I just felt that there was a ceiling on where I was. And then I actually got very lucky with the startup in that someone I went to college with years before, she posted this this photo, and it was of the IOC UK financial regulation exam. And I'd done the exam years prior. I wrote a comment like, "Oh, good luck, that one's a right bastard." And then she reached out, she was like, "Are you in financial services?" "Oh, I'm looking for someone in this, send me your CV," and the rest is history.
Isn't it crazy how it goes like that? When I had a publishing deal, people used to say to me, "How do you get into the music industry?" And I would always say, I have absolutely no idea, because what I thought was going to be the path absolutely wasn't. And it happened through the most odd sets of, oh, you know, this guy, you should talk to that guy, he knows that guy. Some person introduced you to that guy. I hate the word networking because it always feels so cynical. I'm terrible at small talk and really only ever want to find the people who are the most fun. But it's actually served me pretty well because they tend to be the smarter ones. That sounds so awful. I'll cut that out.
No, I mean, you know, I work in finance and I'm in the city. I can't not bring my authentic self to work or to these events. Sometimes you do end up sparking up conversation with just the right person. Do
you find that it's quite still male dominated? I'm way older than you, but you know, my generation was horrendous.
I don't think you're way older than me, first off. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I go to loads of networking events. I'm awkward at them.
Wait, hold up, really? Why? Tell me why.
Awkward at them?
Yeah. Because of the small talk
Because the small talk thing. I would say it might be slightly coloured because I work in financial services and tech. Both of those are quite male dominated, but there's been a definite shift. I would almost say 50-50 split these days.
The AI founder ecosystem, you might enjoy that. There's just lots of really very smart, very crazy people. You meet a lot of unusual characters, which to me is way more fun.
I don't put myself in that bucket though of like super smart people, you know, like there's like or very like techy people.
Oh mate, I'm a moron. I'm a curious moron.
Yeah, and I think that is literally it. It's whether you're curious and whether you're open to taking on new knowledge.
What kind of uses do you implement for yourself?
Basically for any minor inconvenience in my life. As you know, I've had laptop issues this morning. straight on chat trying to find out why my MacBook wouldn't turn on. I feel a bit guilty because I think sometimes I try and think, can I get this answer from the internet or can I get it from AI? And if it's from the internet, I try and just tap it into my browser.
The energy usage, the
Yeah,
water, okay.
yeah. Probably negligible, but still, it's just like little bits of guilt. It's the same point of, do I get my Amazon package and shove it in the bin, or do I take the time to flatten it down and put it in the recycling box? I do put it in the recycling box. I plan my holidays on it, my itineraries on it. I've used it for therapy before even. Sometimes I think, am I overreacting to this? You have to take a really unbiased, really factual approach to it and not feed it into leaning any which way, because obviously AI has a tendency to agree with you all the time. I'd probably say there is not a day that either ChatGPT or Claude doesn't get used on my phone. I ended up
I was going to ask,
which ones?
favoured model?
I veered away from ChatGPT for a little while because of Sam Altman and the Pentagon stuff. And actually their model wasn't as great a few months back, but it looks like they've actually made some really good updates to it. The imagery now is fantastic in a way that like Claude can't do, at least on the free model.
I pay for Perplexity. You can use all the models. And yeah, the sycophancy thing is way heavier in some of them. I think it helps one's own thinking as well, though.
I definitely do. There's a sentiment that AI is going to make us stupid because we're going to be relying on it. By the way, I think we are going to be completely reliant on AI. But the way in which I use it, at least, particularly for work, levels me up, doesn't level me down. I mainly use Anthropic, so Claude for work. There's definitely things where he comes back on things and starts citing a regulation that I know went out of date in 2015, and I'll pull him up on it. And then I'll take a bit of the FCA handbook and upload it into his library and make sure that you always refer to this source book in future when you're citing regulation. I don't think that it's making people dumber. It's down to the individual and how they're using it. I could do my job without AI, but I'm a lot quicker and more efficient because of AI.
Kind of like social media, I suppose. Most people would think that social media is a net negative now, but there are so many ways it's positive. I mean, hey, you got a job at a startup because of that.
But I think that was years ago when social media was still something quite different to what it is now, which I think is quite a manufactured form of control, to be honest.
Well, this is the thing, and it leads us to the bigger fear about AI, where these are algorithmically led hijacking, effectively, of the most base human fears and desires, because that gets the clicks and the attention, and that's where you can put adverts, and that's the money machine. That is the incentivized structure. And that's exactly the terror that everybody has about AI. Is it going to be aligned with what we need and things that are going to benefit us? You mentioned the Sam Altman distrust. Eric Schmidt was doing some speech in a college, and he was just getting jeered. I mean, that's a very visceral demonstration that people are not happy about this.
I think people in college particularly have a huge right to be not happy about it. I get very concerned when I think about my kids' future. My son's 20, my daughter's 16, and it scares me what the future looks like for them. My niece is 8, and I feel a bit more optimistic that whatever huge change or shift will have sort of happened by the time she is their age, and there'll be some kind of structure and stability in place by then. But think about the kids that joined college 2 years ago to do software engineering. My son's recently left uni early, and he's gone into like cookery, chefing, and I'm not mad about it because that can't be replaced. Not anytime soon, anyway.
No, absolutely. I mean, the music thing is insane. I had some track that I'd been sitting on for years, run it through Suno, and it blasted out something within seconds that was better than I could have produced in 2 or 3 weeks. And it's like, I don't know what this is even.
Yeah.
Because there is a feeling of somehow being cheated. I was talking to a teacher who can't stand it if her students try to put something in. And of course you get the M dashes and you get the rhetorical questions and you get the, it's not X, it's Y. And you're like, bro, you didn't write this. So she's absolutely down the line of it's turning people into idiots.
I think it creates an opportunity in the future in a weird way. So my daughter, up until about a year ago, she was like, I want to be an artist, and she's brilliant at computer-aided design. And I'd always thought, well, she'll go into like graphic design. She hates AI with a passion. We were looking at something earlier on and I said, all right, fair warning, I'm going to ChatGPT this. And she sort of rolled her eyes. That's been born from all the AI art, effectively stolen creators' work through ingesting it and then leveraging the styles into something that is not human or that's lacking soul. It's about the artist's story, what they went through to produce it, it's the effort input, and all that's gone and it's soulless and there's nothing to it. So, but actually that could be really interesting because I think there's going to be a huge market in the future for non-AI stuff where we appreciate the things that take effort, the artisanal stuff like craft work with hands, things that have not had any tech involved in them at all.
I'm actually doing a little startup exactly on that premise. And it's not to say that you can't use AI for matching or some kind of admin stuff, because I think one of the interesting things is recording of provenance and lineage. And you can use AI for that, ironically, to prove that it's not AI. Because it's not like you want to know that the artist has suffered, but you want to know there is a piece of them in it. Like a pop star is not just the song and not just the image. They are the combination of everything that goes within that, and their flaws and their foibles. And that's why when you have people who seem too perfect, you're like, eh. And that's why people love the rock stars and the bad boys, because that feels more human. Etsy pretty much dominated on that premise as well. I'm kind of intrigued that you haven't done a startup yourself. You said there should be some educational layer, very specifically for younger people.
Do you know, I've had about 3 or 4 people in the last 3 to 4 months say very similar. It would be cool. Going back to my daughter is now going to want to do physics at A level. A part of me is like, is university even worth it? Can you even imagine what school will look like in 10 years' time? Like, beyond the creative arts, which is where you spoke to maybe that authenticity creeping back in, homework and coursework now is essentially meaningless. We can't change the curriculum fast enough to prepare for what's coming. So what do? Do we educate children for jobs that no longer exist in the future, or do we pivot? Why aren't children leaving school knowing what a mortgage is or what an ISA is? Or it's crazy that we're teaching them about quadratic equations. They don't know how to go and apply for a mortgage.
Don't know how to, set up an account. And take some small percentage and stick it in the S&P.
Yeah.
If I'd known that when I was 17, 18...
I'd be sitting pretty right now.
Yeah. And, okay, I was, by dumb luck, of the generation that was able to buy property. That was your retirement policy in those days, and nothing's come in to replace it. I got a builder mate who's got really spicy takes. He's like, well, it's obvious. They always do it. They're going to come in, steal everything from everybody, and then go to their bunkers in New Zealand and leave us all to the robots.
It must be a builder thing, because my partner's a builder and he will have some very spicy takes on all of this stuff. He does. You think about social media and the addiction to that, I would say AI is an addiction as well. Like, if it's not an addiction, we're forming a reliance on it. Everyone's trying to race towards AGI, and it's a case of, well, can we do it? No one's really asking, should we do it? What problem are we trying to solve with it? Except for the one that AI has probably already created. Why do we need it? What is it going to mean for us? Are most of us going to be out of jobs in the future? Even manual jobs. When the Android bots get good enough, why wouldn't I get a couple of as labourers on site? Will they bring in universal basic income? How do we afford that? Because pretty much every country is in debt. It's really scary to think about it. We're too deep into this journey to stop.
That's right.
We're going to see identity theft in a way that's never been seen before, and we're not ready for it. We cannot be ready for it unless we use AI to ready for it. And then how much... It's just this continual loop of using the problem to fix the problem.
Yeah. And it's the oldest sales thing in the book, right? It's problem, agitate, solve. I think big tech and government have, in the last 5 or 6 years, really run themselves into a PR cul-de-sac. Over and over again, we get these people in these positions who they do a rug pull, and you go, we knew you were gonna, you kept telling us you weren't gonna, you think we're dumb, we can see it. I kind of really like the DeepMind guy, Demis Hassabis, but you never know, do you? It's like the Sam Altman thing. There is something about him that makes me, I just don't know. Possibly the fact that they did the pivot from a non-profit to, actually, thanks for all the public money, guys, we're actually going to be for profit. And then fell out with Elon, and you're like, what are these guys doing? Is this just a dick flopping contest? I don't know. But we are at their mercy. Yes. That's kind of terrifying. And all we have to do is hope that they're not just going to be nightmare bastards. And maybe the AI could actually be the thing which is the tempering layer to it.
Humans are greedy. And they're egotistical, and it'll be who can get there first and who has the most, who's made the most money. Dicks win.
And even if you were able to create a post-scarcity society, and Altman talks about universal basic compute, where compute is distributed, it's just always this thing of like, who gets to control it?
You really should talk to my partner. He thinks it's going to be a social credit system.
Well, that's big fear. And the problem is that people will dismiss you as being conspiracy theorists. And yet, if you were to tell people 50 years ago that London's going to have CCTV on every street corner, people wouldn't have believed you and would have said you're a tinfoil hat guy. If you're not doing anything bad and you've got no problem, and it's like, it never plays out like that. I got a ticket recently for having one wheel in the yellow grid. And I wrote to them going, but the purpose of this thing is to not block traffic. That purpose has been completely forgotten, and what's been adopted is, this makes a load of money.
Yeah.
And if you lot make a tiny mistake, we're going to come down on you. And you're like, that's just all in bad faith. No matter how much they do the dog and pony show on stage, saying, no, I'm different from the last guy. It's like, you're not, because none of you ever are. And there's that suspicion, I think, amongst public that these are just psychopaths with enough power and money to just pursue their own crazy ends, and we don't really even know what that is. I think that seems to be quite a common theme that I'm picking up on.
A certain person came into mind right there.
Does it rhyme with hump?
Funnily enough.
Liv Bourret is worth following and listening to. Her whole sort of premise is, look, we're just blasting towards the cliff edge. If you're going to solve energy and illness and poverty and world hunger and all of those things that normal humans want, then okay, cool. But if you're gonna just start doing what all those other people do, then we don't want it. And I think, as you say, particularly younger people are like, nope, we've seen this play out, we're not having it.
I think their future is the most scary, or it's the most uncertain right now. So they've got every right to be angry. The other bit is, you mentioned that was interesting about optimistic about AI and tech, but less so about the people governing it, which then made me think, so then if the belief around sort of sentience is true, as in AI becoming sentient, would that be a better outcome, that it made the decisions around the governance of it?
It's the alignment thing. It's always going to be a proxy. It's never going to be like ours is. Our embodiment is the basis of most of our behaviour. We're just little chemical factories. Most of the time we don't understand why our drives are the way they are. But they're very deeply entrenched within our bodies. So AI can copy it all it wants, but it's a disembodied, it's a brain in a vat. You're never going to have the same desires and motivations. So even if it does achieve some sense of self-reflection, it's never going to look like ours. And maybe it would be like Data off Star Trek and be a great temperance for us. But I guess the other way, the obvious, the Terminator fear is that it's just going to go, you lot are morons.
You have to wonder if something of a more logical, very black and white nature that made data-driven decisions and less emotional ones, or less egotistical ones, would be better overall.
I think so, truthfully. But again, who gets to program it?
With the current state of geopolitics, I agree. But there's not a lot that wouldn't be better right now. But I'm still an optimist as well, because there's a part of me that thinks there's a potential utopia here where so much of the day-to-day grind will be taken care of through AI and robotics, and we're going to have amazing medical breakthroughs, and people that have like life-altering illnesses can still enjoy life in a way that they would never be able to now. So I have an optimism with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. I'm going to wind this up. Is there anything else you needed to add?
No, that was it. This is fun.
I loved talking to you. I think that you should consider doing a little side hustle startup thing. I might start harassing you to do that. You can block my number, but I think that you would be so highly credible. I think you should pursue it. But that's just me.
Someone's probably already doing it.
Yeah, you know what you need to do? You need to feed that into AI and get them to go and research it and check.
Fair point. Well played.
Meghan, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this, and I'll catch up with you soon, I'm sure.